Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we are going to be building in Henford on Bagley. I thought I would turn the Olde Mill Hill lot into a cemetery, so I just changed the name slightly to Olde Mill Hill Cemetery. And I decided to also add a lovely chapel right here too, because I figure if you are having a funeral, you'd want a nice little church setting to do a funeral in, or subsequently, you could also use this lot if you wanted to have a wedding or other kinds of services, even if it's just like a little celebration of life ceremony. Maybe you want to have a birthday party here. I mean, really, the possibilities are endless. I did only decorate it, though, for a funeral service because that is the new event that's available with the Sims 4 Life and Death expansion pack, and I was super excited to get started. This is the one thing I was really looking forward to when I saw the pack was coming out, was I could not wait to make cemeteries, so I thought I would just jump right into it. You may have noticed earlier on my channel I put up a poll to see which area and which aesthetic of cemetery everybody would be interested in, and I only got a couple votes, sadly. So I had already started building this cottage-core cemetery in Henford on Bagley, and I just added that to the list in hopes that maybe it would get voted for the most, and then I could just continue, but of course it did not. So our next one will be the one that was voted upon, which was, I believe, the creepy one in Forgotten Hollow. So that will be the next one. And then I also do want to create all of those other cemeteries, potentially. We will see what we have time for and what the demand for those types of videos are, because obviously I don't want to put up videos that you guys don't want to see. That would kind of be a waste of everybody's time, in my opinion. So we are going to see where we go from here, but I would like to see what it's like to build a cemetery in almost every single world, especially if they're very different, like in aesthetic or in orientation, what they're more geared towards. Like I said, if they're family friendly, maybe a little spooky, quaint and cozy, more like a park setting. Like, is it going to have lots of entertainment available, that kind of thing. So here is our chapel coming together. I did use a lot of Castle Estate kit and also obviously the Life and Death expansion pack, and I also pulled out these lovely pergolas for this back porch space here. Those are from my wedding stories, and I thought they would look nice here just on either side where the big castle doors are that lead to the back porch space, and the rest of the building is pretty much open on the bottom floor. There is a little stage area, so I used 2 heights of platform to kind of lead up to the stage. And then on the very top is where we will have the casket visual and the little, podium for speaking and giving the eulogies. I thought that would be just a nice, very traditional touch. I did do all hardwood floors from Cottage Living, but then I think I changed the platform to be a carpet. I believe it's like the green, kind of swirly, fancy looking carpet on those platforms. But right here you'll see I put down a area rug from Life and Death and also this green casket because I just like the color of that, and I wanted to kind of give a little bit of color to the space but not too much. I pretty much focused on the one color, so there's green. I believe also there might be little touches of red here and there, and then all dark wood because I wanted all the dark wood tones. I just thought it looked really nice. I also used this archway to kind of separate the entryway to the part where you enter the chapel itself. So I thought that was a nice little separation of space, and it just gave a little bit more interest to the entire downstairs. It was just a very big open box at this point, but I did add steps that go up to the upper level. The only thing on the upper level / balcony space is the bathroom, and then there's like a little tiny seating area, but it's nothing too crazy. I just put in a little fence here to separate, and then some lighting from Cottage Living that I just put up top here. I just thought it was nice. I thought we needed a little bathroom space that was separate from the rest of the church. Maybe this was added on later because this was just unused attic space. And I decided to do like 2 toilet rooms, and then main sinks are out in the large rectangle of the bathroom, because I figure you may come in here because you have to go to the bathroom because you need to, meet your bladder need, but you may also just come into the bathroom to freshen up or to touch up your makeup if you've been crying or something. So I didn't want it to be like you walk straight into a toilet. I wanted there to be a little bit of a separation, just like a normal public bathroom. I added these lovely mirrors from Life and Death in this bathroom. The counters are base game, and then the little sinks that are in the toilet rooms are from Get Together, because I really like the wood tone on those, as well as the mirrors. Those are from Get Together because they match so nicely. And these skinny little Castle Estate windows, of course, because they just look so nice up here, and I thought they would give a little more interest. And then I changed out the door for the one that has the stained glass at the top. That one is from For Rent. I just really like that door, and I thought it looked super, super nice up here. And then I changed the wallpaper up here to just match the outside of the building, because I like that. And I think it just lends itself to being like an old stone church, and it doesn't really need any other kind of wallpaper. Now we're back downstairs, though. I'm adding these pews that I believe came with my wedding stories. I think they match so nicely, and I wanted to put a nice little section of them, but not too many where it's overwhelming for your Sims to figure out where to sit. So I just did 4 right here in a row. I do end up rearranging them in a little bit, but first I'm going to make 2 little rooms off of the main area. So this little square over here that we're working on now, where I'm going to be adding the paneling to the wall. This ends up being like a little mini library, and I only add the paneling on the walls that are not touching the exterior walls, basically, like only the interior walls. I think those were newly built, so they had to put wallpaper or paneling on them. We'll get back to the library very shortly, though. Right now we're going to work on the platform space where the ceremony will take place, the funeral ceremony. So I did use these lovely chairs from Life and Death, and then the big flower arrangements from my wedding stories. The little tiny wreath on the easel stand thing is from Life and Death as well, and I think it's so pretty, as well as this large hanging chandelier that I have put here at the top of the ceiling. Now obviously I got rid of the upper floor, so what I had to do was add these large beams that came with Love Struck. Actually, I thought they really lent themselves to that old church look, so I threw them in here, and I made sure that the light looked like it was hanging on those beams, and then I just added a bunch more to make it kind of even, make it look right. And then over here as well, leading to where the stairway is, because I figured you'd have them all along the upper portion of the building, like those were the rafters, so there's really no moving them at all. And then we have our tables going in here. Those are from Cottage Living. The chairs are from Cats and Dogs, and we have a little buffet table from, I believe that's from my wedding stories as well. And what I did was I decided to separate this room off. So I got rid of one of the table and chair sets, but eventually I ended up putting it back. I just take away one chair. And this is where you can have a little private dining space, so you can get your food off of the buffet table. You can come in here and sit and relax and be separate from the rest of the group if you want to, because, everybody grieves differently. Every Sim grieves differently. Maybe they just want to sit by themselves, have a little something to eat, or some punch, because I did throw a punch bowl in here, and just be by themselves, not necessarily be in front of everybody eating their funeral meal. I don't know what you'd call that. And then I'm just adding a lot more flower arrangements here, both from my wedding stories. I love this big spray of white flowers, and I tried to use them in as many places as I could. I also tried to rotate them a little so they wouldn't look so uniform. I also changed out the curtain archways that are in front of all the doorways to be in a red tone versus the green one, because with the green fabric, the wood tone wasn't dark enough for me. So I was like, you know what? Red works too. I can do red. And then over here, I have a little piano space in case your Sims funeral activities include playing an instrument. I did test that out with the Goth family, who you will see in the screenshots later, a little spoiler alert, but I did have Alexander Goth play the piano as part of the funeral activities that Mortimer wanted, and it worked out just fine. It checked right off the list, so I thought that was a nice touch. You'll see a bunch of chandeliers I just added as well. Thought those were important. And here I am furnishing the library. We have all of these bookshelves that came with Life and Death, as well as the couch and the matching armchairs. I love the varying heights of bookshelf. I thought they looked so cool in here, so I decided to use both heights. I didn't use the other one, like the smaller one, but I think that one's more mainly to be for like a child's bedroom, so I didn't think it really mattered in here anyway. I also added this little rubber plant from Dine Out in here just to give a little splash of greenery, just something alive in that space. And then I added another pew out here near the table where you can assign it to whoever has passed away. I thought that was a nice little touch. Just as soon as you walk in to have that little memorial table, I thought that, you come in, you say your respects, and then you move on into the pews and you listen to the eulogy. Now back here, I am changing the swatch of those pergolas just to white because I thought that it looked nicer rather than having an unmatched wood tone. And then I added this large fence from Life and Death all the way around this lot because I wanted to make sure it was nice and protected and safe and secure, because I assume there will be quite a few Sims here that will be laid to rest, and I wouldn't want anyone to break in to the crypts or anything. And we have some fountains going in as well. I decided to put these here with some water emitters in them because I thought that would look nice, and I added some of these tall reeds, some lily pads with yellow flowers. Just wanted it to look really pretty and peaceful and kind of reminiscent of the rest of the world, but I didn't want to add a pond per se, just because I feel like this church and this cemetery is very structured and they are very neat, and having a pond is just, it's a little too messy. Like they would have to call someone for maintenance, whereas if you have just a fountain, you can just chlorinate it and it will, pretty much take care of itself. I was trying to think logically, but also in relation to Sims. Here you'll see I created a bunch of these plots here for all of your deceased Sims, and I surrounded it with that very low-lying wrought iron fence from base game, and then I threw some debug bushes in between each of them to kind of give it a little bit of privacy. I also added an assortment of these rose bushes from Cottage Living all behind it just to give a little bit of color, again, a little bit of privacy, a little bit of something fresh and alive in that space. And then I added some of these like lavender plants. I think those are lavender plants. They are from Outdoor Retreat. I just thought the little trio of lavender plants at different heights was really nice, and it was a little bit more organic. So I added those on either side of the crypt. There ends up being 3 crypts on this lot and a whole bunch of plots, which you will see. I'm only going to show a couple because I pretty much did the same thing for the rest of the plots. They all have this little wrought iron fence, the bushes in between, and the rose bushes in the back, and that's basically it. Now the ones that I use in the very front of this lot, though, they don't have the plot itself, they just have the headstones, so you'll see a little bit of difference there. I tried to give it, I tried to give everybody an opportunity to pick what kind of burial plot they would want, and I think that I accomplished that, so I hope you think so too. Let me know in the comments down below because I love hearing from you guys. Also, how many of you bought The Sims 4 Life and Death already, or how many of you are planning on getting it later? Because I was very excited and I knew I had to get it right away, but I was not going to be paying EA full price because I just can't afford it. So I did what I could, but I got it from CD Keys, and I got the early purchase content because they have it on there as well. So if you're looking for a slightly more affordable way to get the game, that is an option for you. And I'm sure that it will be even cheaper later on CD Keys. If you wait a little bit, I just could not bring myself to wait for this one like I did for Love Struck. So I hope that you all understand my addiction here. But we have some trees going in. I just added these little base game ones from Live Edit and Debug. I thought they were so pretty, and then they can be rotated so nicely to look like they're more organically placed. So I enjoy using those a lot on these kinds of builds. Added some more lavender and some more of these long bushes on either side of the crypt and up to the regular building. And then I believe I added some more of this yellow lavender in the middle just to kind of give it a little bit of color. I didn't really know what I was doing for the longest time with this landscaping. I was a little unsure. I just knew that I wanted a lot of flowers. I wanted it to blend in nicely with the rest of the world. I knew that I wanted there to be a lot of options for everybody, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with the landscaping and with the terrain paint. I was a little confused. I was doing my best, but it was obviously, this is my first cemetery I've ever built, so I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was really trying. And I also referenced a bunch of images on Google just to see if I could get an idea of what I could make a cemetery look like in The Sims, how I could translate it over to The Sims, and if it was possible. And I think that I did okay. I think I did all right. I really think that it came out super cute, and I had a lot of fun playtesting it with the Goth family, so I hope that you enjoy looking at those screenshots as well, because it was an interesting time the ghost of Mortimer was up to no good the whole time. But here you'll see I'm placing a bunch of flowers and a bunch of headstones on all these plots. I tried really hard to give a varying array of flowers and different kinds of items. Like there's some urns, there's some vases, some have nothing on them, some have a pet grave with the other two graves, like maybe those were the pet owners. There's some little statues of a cat and a dog. I put in a bunch of different flower arrangements, and just I was trying to think about what we could put here. Like if your sim was visiting, what would they leave here for their loved ones? And it's pretty much all I could think of was just flower arrangements and maybe like a little statue or a little rock of some kind. I don't know, a greeting card. I probably should have put down some greeting cards. I really like that little mushroom fairy house planter as well from Cottage Living, so I had to throw that in there somewhere. Now you'll see the terrain paint around all of the plots is pretty much done, at least in the front. I haven't finished it yet in the back, but it's pretty simple. I just use a lot of dirt. Mostly I use these pavers, and those were from vampires, believe it or not. I really like the color on those. I think that they look creepy, but also like not too creepy. They can definitely be used in a nicer cemetery or park. I added a chess table, some more trees. I also put some dirt underneath them later on, but I really tried to make this place very symmetrical and also very useful for you to come visit. So even if you don't come here during a funeral, if you just want to come visit your loved ones who have passed on, maybe you can use this grill over here and these benches that came with romantic garden stuff to have a little picnic lunch and enjoy each other's company, enjoy the rest of your family's company. Maybe you can even have like a family reunion event here, and you can still have a good time. And I figure you can always go into build buy mode while you're here and like add a swing set if you have kids, or add, I just wanted to make it very suitable for everybody. And I figured if I gave you a lot of space, you can always take away some of the landscaping and add whatever else it is that you want, or that your Sims loved ones wanted before their funeral. So I hope that makes sense. I tried to make it very, very playable, in my opinion, and I think it works out really nicely. I think the flow is there when it comes to the funeral ceremony, which I am very pleasantly surprised by, because the funeral ceremony went a lot better than the wedding ceremonies go, or at least how they used to go when Wedding Stories came out. So luckily we don't have those same problems. I mean, they're still Sims. They don't want to sit and they don't want to stay seated. But for the most part, I didn't have to micromanage too much. They were pretty independent, which is interesting. The autonomy doesn't always do what you want it to, but they actually were pretty okay. They were pretty well behaved, so I was surprised. But yeah, here you'll see I'm finishing up the rest of the landscaping. I used a lot of these big bushy bushes and a lot of the larger lavender plants. I threw in some of these rocks because they match the ones that are used in the world, and also this foxglove. That's that tall kind of pink and leafy flower. I really like those, and I like them in real life as well. So I threw them all over the property. Also lots of rose bushes, some black-eyed Susans, some clumps of grass, some like weeds and little things. I tried to make it look very overgrown, very country. I wanted it to match the rest of the world very nicely. I didn't want it to stand out too much. And I also really like how the stone looks with all the greenery around it. It just looks very natural. It just looks very well cared for, and like not a creepy kind of chapel, not a creepy cemetery. It is a well-loved cemetery, and I think a lot of the town's very prominent folks are laid to rest here, so they want to keep it very, very nice and keep people coming to visit and donating to help maintain the cemetery and the surrounding areas, because it's really, really pretty, and I can imagine it would take a lot of gardeners to keep this place up and running and looking nice and trimmed up. Now, obviously, like I said, there's a lot of overgrown spaces and there's a lot of grass and grassy spots, but I still think that it is very heavily maintained and that it is meticulously cared for. So I hope that you kind of understand where I'm going with this. But yes, I used lots of rocks, lots of plants, and then it's going to jump very soon for you seeing me do the terrain paint just to finish it up. I didn't show you all of it, but this is the basic gist of it. But we're going to jump right into decorating the rest of this lot because we have our lights going in on the front porch. I also added a lot of these grapevines to the edges of the fence here in the front, same as on the other side. And then I have these very long bushes that we used inside the cemetery. They're going to go all along on either side of the graveyard itself. I wanted it to be very, filled in. I didn't want there to be a lot of empty space. Now, be warned, this lot, for me at least, was a little bit laggy on my computer because there's so much going on. So if you do want to download this and you have maybe a computer with a little bit less capabilities as far as the specs are concerned, you might want to come in and maybe delete some of the plots and just kind of put nothing there, or just some tables or something else, because those take up a lot of memory, I think, just because of the gameplay functionality of them, like they need to. So I apologize in advance for that. My game was struggling, but I still was able to play. It was just like, that might be a problem. I might have to go back and change a few things, or if I want to play with this long term, I better delete some stuff because I don't really need all of this stuff. Here you'll see it quickly. I just changed the landscaping idea on the side back to the same thing that is reflected on the other side. This park itself, the cemetery park itself, is very matchy, which is something I normally don't do, but I thought that it just made sense for it being a community lot such as this, that everything should match and everything should pretty much look the same and look uniform. Here you'll see I'm adding a bunch more terrain paint. There was a lot of terrain paint that went into this. It was a lot of dirt, a lot of placing of dirt underneath some flowers and bushes, and I did this all the way around, and I tried to really make it blend in very nicely, but also look nice on its own. Now here on the front porch, we're going to add this lovely sign that I think is, to announce whoever the service is for that day. And then I added another one of these flower arrangements out front to the front porch. You'll also see I pulled out this wine barrel. That is from my wedding stories. And I put it right over here so that we could put a little flower arrangement on top. And obviously you can always change up what that flower arrangement is. So I thought it was a nice touch. Here's some more of those lights from Cottage Living going in. Some more flowers on the back deck. I think that one is just base game, and I thought it looked really nice. So I figured I'd use it. And then we have a get-together potted plant on a pedestal back here on either side. And then I wanted to add some lighting, so I took it to nighttime and I added these lampposts from Cats and Dogs, and also these little wall-mounted candles from my wedding stories, and I just used alt placement to make sure that they were in the correct spot on the pillars of the crypts, because I thought those were very important. We want this area to be lit up enough. And then I also moved these backlights over just ever so slightly because there wasn't a lot of light on the back corners of the lot. I thought that was necessary. And here's the last two candles going up onto the crypt, and now we will see some live mode footage of the sun coming up in Henford on Bagley and shining on our little church at Olde Mill Hill Cemetery. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments down below, or vote in that poll, and let me know what is the next cemetery you'd like to see, or if you'd like to see something completely different. If you'd like to see me do something else with the pack that I maybe haven't thought of, I would be more than happy to try anything that you have in mind, because there's just so much cross-pack compatibility, I feel like, with this pack, that you can honestly do anything you really set your mind to. And that's so exciting because, you don't get that very often with expansion packs. A lot of times you get pigeonholed into one certain thing or one certain build style, but I think that they've been giving us so much to work with the last couple expansion packs, and I just have been very inspired and very excited, but also a little overwhelmed. So I could use some help narrowing down my dreams here to figure out which one to build next. So if you have not already, please be sure to like and subscribe. Tell your friends if they like Sims 4 build videos to check me out. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.